Okay, I want to talk about how to end the piece. There's lots of ways you can end a piece. The first thing is for this particular assignment, we want to check to make sure that they have between 15 and 30 seconds. And I'm pretty strict about keeping it under 30 seconds, which it is exactly if I go to the end of the piece. If I decided to loop this and fade out, I need to fade out before the 30 seconds are up. Remember, this is a project that's supposed to be simulating a real life assignment, like somebody had a job and they were doing a job. And 30 seconds is 30 seconds in radio time. So make sure it's between 15 and 30 seconds. If I was doing this for much more advanced students, I would give them an absolute precise, it must be exactly 15 seconds or exactly 30 seconds, because in the real world, people are buying those time slots. So it's exactly 15 or exactly 30. For this, intro kids, somewhere between, gives them a little leeway. But absolutely nothing over 30 seconds. That would be my only one caveat for this. So we are fine. I'm going to go back to time. And there's a lot of different ways that you can end a piece. Here it is. I'm sorry, let's go back to beats and projects so I can see where the measures are. Yeah! Now you could fade out across this whole thing if you wanted to. I'm not a big fan of doing this mix fade out here because sometimes it says show automated. Sorry if I said fade out. Where'd it go? It should be on the master track. And I think, yeah, there it is, because I have some information there. The automatic fade out gives you these 4 points, and it's looking for the last bit of audio that I have in the piece, so that's why it's there. But what it does is it gives you, some algorithm tells you that's the way to fade out. I never want some mathematician to tell me how to fade out my piece. So I tell my students, please don't use the fade out tool. You'll see in this instance it really didn't work. The best thing that they could do instead of saying fade out, they can show the automation on that track, which will be fine, and it'll bring up the volume of the master track, and then they can click on it and make an absolute decision for yourself. I want to hide that volume because I'll decide that I want to start the fade out maybe in the 3rd measure and go to the 4th measure, which is 14. So I'll go down here to my master track and I'll start, where was I, measure 11, and then fade out, make sure it's done by measure 13, and then I have to listen and see if it works. Etc. Yeah, so I'm done, and the fade out is done before the music is over. Okay, so that's one way, is to fade out. Not always a big fan of fading out. It doesn't always work. I have to make sure I turn off this automation here, and I'm going to take out the nodes, but you can turn it off there if you want to on individual tracks and leave them on the other tracks if you have automation. So the thing that I want to do is actually I want to show you how to loop to the downbeat. I'm going to zoom in so I can get that, and I can click on all of this and just loop to the downbeat. The problem you want to be careful about is what's all this information in here in the drums or anything that's moving that isn't a downbeat. So I might loop everything and then just click on the drums. Let's just see what that does. I know I'm not fond of that Carla, so let's just start from here. Yeah, and you can do it that way. If you want. The other alternative, I'm going to back up by doing Command Z, and it will get me all back there. The other thing you can do is copy and paste and edit things out, because what I'm missing, let's do that again, because I just had another idea, which is to instead have that guitar gets a little truncated, doesn't it, right? So here's the whole first beat. I'm going to take out the moving line in the drums. So this is what I have at the very end. This is beat measure 12, beat 4, and these are the 16th notes. And here's measure 13, beat 1. And I think that guitar gets a little truncated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the track. I'm going to grab the guitar line itself here, and I'm going to make a copy, and I'm going to turn the loop off and bring it in here. All of it gets truncated, so you might want to do the same thing to all of them. And I'm going to turn this video off so I can do all of this. and then you can just hear what the results are. Okay, so what I've done is I have now copied and pasted right here the all of these parts, and well, I don't want all that moving line, I just want a sustained, right? All of these are selected. Unfortunately, in GarageBand, you won't be able to get them all in there. So what I can do is find this downbeat. They're not all going to show up in the edit window, I should say, if you highlight them and double click. They will in more advanced software like Logic. So I'm going to delete the first one. I'm going to deselect, I should say, by holding the shift button and clicking on this region. And all of these are selected, and I put my cursor right where I want it, and now I'm going to hit Command T, and what that does is it splits the region at the playhead, which is what I did. I'm going to delete these. I'm going to grab this region, open it up, give myself a full measure, and unfortunately I'll have to do this all by hand on every single track and extend it. Now you'll have to be careful to make sure you haven't gone over the timeline, right? We're going a little over here, but this is just for our purposes. If I decide that's going to be 30 seconds, then I'll make it 2 beats instead of, or 1.5 beats instead of just 1 beat. But for our purposes, I'm just going to pull this out here. I'll go back to beats so I can see it. And I'll go through every single one of these and extend them out, right? And make them full. And every single one of these, shift select. I'm sorry, it needs to be on the track in order to see it in the edit window. That's why it keeps jumping. So let me just do this and I'll cut back and you can hear the final result. Okay, so I've gone through all of the tracks and I've just made them all 1 measure long, and here is my ending. Great. One of those pads sustains through, so again, if you want to, you could put that pad in a different track. Let's go here, sorry about that. Just put this in a different track, and the culprit behind that is going to be in the controls, probably in the EQ, delay, some of the chord, the vibrato, some of this stuff will do that, or I could just take it out and hear what this sounds like. Yeah, I mean, just taking it out is a little cheap, but you could do that. All right, that's for the fast fix on this, and that's what you can do to end your piece.